Are you ready to crack the code on closing bigger deals and landing better clients? Welcome to The Closing Code, the podcast for sales pros and agency owners who want to master the art of selling high-ticket digital marketing services. In each episode, your hosts, Clinton James and Josh Konigsberg, bring you real-world strategies, actionable insights, and proven tactics to help you level up your sales game. No fluff, no gimmicks, just the tools you need to win more deals and build a thriving agency. Let's get started.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Closing Code podcast. I'm Josh Konigsberg, along with my co-host, Clinton James.
Hey, Josh. How are we doing today, sir?
Amazing. And yourself?
I'm doing amazing. After one of our podcast episodes where you talked about mindset, that is my default go-to answer now when people ask me how I'm doing. Doesn't matter what the day looks like. I'm amazing.
That's right. You know, and it's just manifestation. It puts it out there in the universe, and you know, you internalize it, you externalize it, and it's just a beautiful thing.
100% agree. Glad to be back. Glad to drop a little value for our audience today. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about the topic today.
Well, today's topic hits every sales rep right where it hurts. It's follow-up. It's not flashy, it's not fun, but it's the difference between getting ghosted and getting paid. And I heard a great quote for that just recently, and that quote is, "Nobody eats till somebody sells something."
Ain't that the truth?
Right?
From your lips to God's ears. That is that's true. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's plenty of fortune in the follow-up, right? And if you don't master it, if you don't have a system in place, you're basically leaving money on the table every single sales call, every single week, every single month, every single quarter, right? They're not all one-call closes. As much as we'd like to think that we are the best closers in the world and all of them are going to turn into business, right?
That's right. And so using our friend ChatGPT, it makes it easier than ever to follow up. And, you know, we have an interesting stat today that came from ChatGPT, but I'm old school, so I'm going to debate the stat. And
Okay.
that stat is that ChatGPT tells us that 80% of sales require 5 or more follow-ups, yet 44% of sales reps give up after just 1. Wow.
All right, Josh. So you tell me, how many in the legal niche where you're selling high-end ticket or high-ticket programs to attorneys and law firms, what would you guess is the average number of follow-ups necessary to close business?
13.
13. Wow. What would you attribute that to?
So they're busy, and our priority is not their priority. And that's one of the things that I've noticed over the years, especially as I've been coaching. And, you know, and once you have children, you understand this as well. So their priority is not necessarily our priority, right? Even though they're supposed to be your priority. So I try to instill on my team, as part of the fulfillment and as part of our training, I instill in them that, look, I know we need to get these images approved. I know we need to get this content, this blog, whatever. And, oh, Josh, I sent them 3 requests. They haven't followed up. Can we just publish it? No, we can't just publish it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, you have to follow up. They're busy. And guess what? Law firm marketing pros isn't the only thing on that lawyer's mind today.
Yeah, I definitely have fallen victim to this, right? I realize that the business owners that I'm selling digital marketing services to, while it is a important thing, and it may even be a priority for them, it's not the only thing that they do. They actually have a business to run. They actually have customers that they have to serve. They actually have employees that they need to take care of. And most of them also have a family that requires some of their immediate attention. So maybe they don't respond to that voicemail. Maybe they don't respond to that SMS message. Maybe they don't respond to that email. You can't take that stuff personally, and you certainly can't let it slow you down in terms of your follow-up cadence if you really want to close business.
That's right. And conversely, we need to follow up immediately.
Yeah.
Meaning this, we have to give them 100% of the attention when they ask for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes the schedule allows for that. Sometimes the schedule is booked. So we're going to talk a little bit about tactics and strategies that have allowed us to take a little bit of the power back in terms of follow-up to ensure that we can get in touch with them, answer any questions they have, and hopefully turn those prospects into clients there. Quick question for the audience, though, Josh. How many deals do you think if you're listening to this, how many deals do you think that you've lost, not because of price, not because of the fit of your program, but because you simply didn't follow up enough, right?
I can tell you right now, for me, it's more than I want to think about.
All right. So if we know that most reps stop after one or two touch points, assuming that the person is silent, doesn't respond there. And water restoration, with the clients that I serve, it's really not uncommon to follow up a half dozen times plus before they're ready. Again, not because they're not interested in my service, but because they are in emergency services, right? And a lot of these guys are owner operators that are spending time out catering to these homeowners and business owners that they're looking to service there. And I'm a human being, right? I try not to take it personally, but when I have a scheduled follow-up call that they miss, or I send them an SMS message following up on a proposal and that goes unanswered, I've got, from a mindset standpoint, I've got to always remind myself of that, right? They're not ghosting me like it was a bad date. They just have other priorities and other things going on in their business.
Yeah,
right?
It's not a rejection. That's right. So, law firms generally move slow unless they're in a crisis situation whereby they've had a problem with a marketing vendor, right? Website, whatever, right? I've got to get a new website up in 2 weeks or whatever. But generally, they'll move slow because they're analytical. So they're going to be methodical with their decision-making process. So for me, it's, and anyone in professional services, I think probably pretty similar, but it's not that they're ignoring you. It's, again, they're busy. They're overloaded. Again, as you mentioned earlier, they've got families, they've got clients or customers, they've got team members that they need to address. They've got accounting. And for law, and when I say accounting, I mean payroll and all the, I got to meet with my accountant, whatever. And in law, we also run into emergency hearings, depositions, arbitrations, those types of things that, we just had someone had to reschedule just last week a discovery call because the trial ran longer than anticipated.
Sure.
So that kind of stuff comes up. So that's why most of our competitors lose steam after the second attempt. And I think what happens is we internalize it as rejection. And then what we begin to do is we make excuses so we don't have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because no one likes rejection over and over again. How many times did you ask your wife out before she said yes? Right?
I was really fortunate. Asked her out once. She said yes. So,
well, you're a good looking guy, so you get away with it.
I'm not going to argue with you at all. But think about it from a mindset standpoint and the conversations that we run through in our head, right? Like, hey, I don't want to sound too pushy. Like, I don't want to continue to follow up with them because I don't want to annoy them. I don't know. I don't want to know what they're going to say after a third email, right? I followed up. They didn't respond. And now what? Right.
That's right. That's right.
So let's really talk about some actionable strategies on how we can put in place systems, how we can maybe change up the way that we're reaching out to them, deliver some value, and ultimately use some triggers to get them re-engaged and get them across the finish line and turn them in from a prospect into a client. And before we go any further, Josh, I'm sure there's some arrogant SOB that's listening to this podcast right now that thinks they close every deal. They schedule one follow-up. They might schedule a second follow-up. And if the prospect doesn't respond to them, to hell with them, right? They're not worth my time. They're not going to be a good client anyway. And if you're that guy, hey, more power to you. But I guarantee if we go back and we look at your prospects, if we look at your funnel, if we look at I guarantee you probably missed out on some opportunities because you took this hard line stance in terms
leaving money on the table.
Yeah,
that's what they're
100%.
doing. They're leaving money on the table. So.
All right, so let's talk first about a system, Josh, because I do believe in systematizing your follow-up, right?
Yes,
so
right.
When I end a strategy session or a sales demo, whatever you want to call it, I ultimately, if I'm not getting a yes, or an agreement to move forward, a signed proposal, scheduling and onboarding, collecting payment information, I always look to schedule another event on the calendar. I don't want to leave it open-ended to where, hey, I'm going to follow up with you in a couple days, right? I would rather put something that's on my calendar and that's on their calendar, maybe something that integrates with our CRM so that they also get some reminders that follow-up event is going to come up. What are you doing from a system standpoint to make sure that you stay top of mind and you have that opportunity to have that follow-up conversation?
Yeah. So depending on where the lead's coming from, we have multiple systems in place with a glide path. It's all laid out on the spreadsheet, and I've got the sales assistant doing all of it. So we worked on it together, and it's all laid out. Whatever, most of it is, well, I shouldn't say that. Again, depending on where the lead came from, some of it we're using various automation tools, right? Some of it is built into the CRM. We do have some reminders. And whatever it takes to stay consistent. However, what I've done more recently is actually a little bit of a deviation from that based upon some of the referral sources that I'm getting them from.
So tell me a little bit about how you changed it up.
So referral sources are generally going to be easier to close because they're going to have a lot of credibility, especially if the referring source is a coach, right? Sure. So what I've done is I've pulled them out of the automation tools and I'm putting into ChatGPT every single touch that's happened and asking ChatGPT, what do you recommend using this particular, we mentioned the famous sales coach, Jeremy Miner. How would Jeremy Miner respond given this sequence? Write me the next 3 emails. Okay. Should I drop a test? So I'm using ChatGPT to coach me as if I was sitting next to Jeremy Miner. I've done Dan Kennedy because I love Dan, I love what Dan Kennedy has to say, even though it's not direct sales, but it applies.
I love that someone with your wealth of sales experience doesn't think they know it all, right? We're using the latest technologies to help us formulate better responses and better outreach to prospects to help us close deals.
Yeah.
Right?
And what I've actually done is even put in some wins from like clients. So for example, if it was an estate planning attorney, hey, one of our recent meta campaigns got one of our other estate planning clients 10 new cases in just 45 days. And if you recall, I prompted ChatGPT to go through all that and I got a response. Now they're still not ready to buy. Go ahead.
No. You're you're ahead of the curve here because I'm thinking like, hey, during those touch points, right? Once they've fallen out of a scheduled follow-up cadence and you're just reaching out to them, you definitely want to not just ask them, hey, are you available? Hey, are you ready to move forward? Hey, right? You want to deliver value in each one of those touch points. So you are utilizing your previous experience selling to like-minded prospects. You're utilizing AI and you're crafting really clever case study data or testimonials or data points that you can share that deliver value and reaffirm you as the subject matter expert in that niche, right?
That's right.
I love that.
And don't you want wins just like this? I know your concerns are, and this particular case, she's got some internal problems, firing people, hiring and training, and that's going to cause delays, right? That's what happens. Right?
Sure.
So she couldn't handle that right now. That's basically the response. I couldn't handle 10 more clients right now. I got to get these other people trained. Right.
No, but I
love
the
I'm
idea.
Top of mind when those people are trained. I'm top of mind, right?
Yeah, I love the way you are tailoring your responses using AI and staying top of mind for that prospect because, as you mentioned, sales cycles are
time-consuming. Yeah. But you've got it. Again, I don't want to leave it. I hate leaving money on the table. It's just my personality. Right?
It pains me. Now, one of the things that I see a lot of sales reps make the mistake is they just use one medium to follow up with that prospect, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are in love with email, right? They want to send email. They sent the proposal via email. They did another follow-up email to make sure they got the proposal to review, even though we're all using DocuSign or PandaDoc or Go High Level so we can see when somebody's opened up the proposals that we've sent out to them, see how often they've looked at it. But man, I feel like sales reps nowadays, they're afraid of the phone, right? They're afraid of picking up the damn phone and just making a phone call.
Pick up the effing phone. It's so funny we're talking about this. Just last week, I had emailed this prospect, and it's a big deal for us. And he didn't get back to me, but I knew they were really, really interested. So I picked up the phone and I called him, and I left a message on his voicemail. And later that day, he sent me an email. I got your message. I'm not ignoring you. I haven't forgotten about you. I'm still dealing with XYZ. I need a couple more weeks. Right. So he didn't want to talk to me, but he did respond back just because I left a voice message.
Love that. Love that. So nowadays, with all the technology available to us, it's not just emails. It doesn't necessarily have to just be phone calls, right? It doesn't have to be just text messages. If you're really engaged with your prospect, you're probably following them on a couple of social media platforms, right? Maybe you reached out to them via LinkedIn Messenger. Maybe you reached out to them via Facebook Messenger. Hell, I get a lot of my leads from running ads on Meta. If I have that prospect, somebody that I'm engaging with, I probably have already followed them on Facebook. Why not use Facebook Messenger as another way to reach out, right? That's right. If that's how you got the lead in the first place, there's no reason that that they're on that platform, right? So utilize those different tools, mix it up a little bit, create a cadence that you follow in terms of follow-up to just stay, again, maybe it doesn't result in an immediate phone call back like what you're saying, Josh. Maybe they send you an email back, but man, you're just keeping the lines of communication open and making sure that you remain top of mind with that prospect.
Again, it's so funny because I just popped into mind. I got one yesterday, and her tone was, "Thank you so much I'm not ignoring you. Thank you so much for being patient with me." Right.
Yeah.
So, I have to go to a conference. When I get back, we're going to get started. Basically, that was the gist of it.
Yeah.
So she was thanking me for the patience rather than me. And again, my patience was 3 or 4 touches since the last time I talked to her. So those are working, but again, dealing with all this other stuff that they have to deal with. So the other thing I've seen, and we mentioned Jerry Minor. He's so good with this. You just don't want to check in, right? You don't want to, hey, circling back, bleh, right? So, hey, I wanted to share something with you because we have cracked the code on, right? Or we increased revenue by. Use case study, use a test. Hey, look, I just got this case study, or just got this testimonial video from one of my clients. You're going to love it. Just drop the link in, put it up. We put them up on Vimeo. So, something as simple as that, rather than just, hey, just checking in, right?
Yeah. So, now, during the discovery call phase and the strategy session phase, I am a person that takes a lot of notes, right? Because my memory is not great, right? I won't remember the conversation I had with this prospect a week ago. But a lot of times in those notes, I'm looking for triggers, right? Hey, we're bringing on a new service vehicle in 2 weeks or a month, or this is our revenue goal for the quarter. We're not quite there yet. So I will use those triggers and those things in my notes as reasons to follow up. Hey, I know you mentioned that you were starting training for a new project manager. I know you wanted to get him up, running, and busy. Where are you guys at in terms of the lead flow right now? Are you getting in enough X jobs to make sure that they're going to have a full week's worth of work, right? So just take notes during that process, right? Make sure you use that, and then use those notes as triggers to reach out to that prospect and re-engage with them. So
one of the things I always ask is, what's your timeline on making a decision? And you can. Right. Remember in our conversation, you said you wanted to start by May 15th. Well, it's the 14th. Right.
I will say, though, everything that we talk about, like follow-up, I am a person that kind of lives by like a schedule. So like I actually have like a 6-point follow-up with a prospect once they've fallen off of calendar, right? Like usually after I do that strategy session, and if they don't pull the trigger on moving forward, I'm scheduling a follow-up call to do a review with them and see if they're going to move forward. If for some reason they don't make that call, or for some reason they can't make a decision on that call, I limit myself to 6 follow-ups, right? 6 unique follow-ups there. And if they don't respond to any of my emails, SMS messages, social media outreach, then I do have a final message in my back pocket that I send to them. Not being a jerk, but also saying, hey, this is something that I know was important to you. You want to move on. I've tried my hardest to get a hold of you, and I'm just not. So it doesn't seem like it's a good time for us to work together right now. But please keep my information. And should your circumstances change and you need more X, be sure to reach out to me. And then they go and they become part of an email nurture sequence that we do to all the prospects in our.
Right. Now, what was your thinking behind 6? Why not 5? Why not 7 or 9?
If I'm being completely transparent, it is just the number that I came up with after I did this for a few months.
Okay.
Right. Like, I'm like, hey, I can't keep following up with the same prospects indefinitely, or else that's too many activities in one day, right? With all the other stuff I have to do from a sales and a marketing and from a business standpoint, I have to limit the number of touches I have before at some point I just got to throw in the towel.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would automate it. I would double down on the 6 and automate it. After the 6 that you're doing, then just automate it unless there's a trigger that says, hey, someone just like you, your exact size and similar market, whatever, and I can do that with type of law. Here's the trigger, thought of you, you might want, and then I can pull it out or just add it and make it instead of 12, 13. Because to me, that's the magic number.
Yeah, I might look into that. I was reading, or actually I was watching a video by one of the guys over at Bad Marketing. That's Eddie Malouf's group. His sales guy over there was talking about how they were trying to get away from automations from a sales standpoint, right? And really go a little bit more old school with text messages, video messages sent directly from an iPhone. So they got the blue box and everything there. And I think there's some value, and I kind of understand where he was going with that. But I do think, hey, if I'm just going to throw in the towel anyway, there's no reason I can't let that automation. Because, even when the prospect goes quiet, I want to keep them in my sales orbit, right? I never want to let a good lead just die on the vine,
That's
right?
I'll go through dead leads as motivation, or deals that I lost as motivation, just to I want to close them all.
All right. So a couple things we want to avoid when we're doing these follow-ups, whether it's via phone, via email, via SMS, via social media outreach, we don't want to sound robotic, right? There's some certain terms you mentioned, circling back, following up. We want to avoid those at all costs, man. It's bad. You should also document your follow-up process. Like, mine is pretty rigid. Like, there's specific dates, how many business days I wait before I do X, Y, and Z. You should sit down and kind of map out what that follow-up process looks like and make sure that in your CRM or in your calendar, you have reminders so that these opportunities aren't falling through the cracks there. Okay.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. And don't ever give up because of assumptions, right? They must have gone with somebody else. Like, they didn't necessarily go with somebody else. Maybe they just haven't gone anywhere yet because, again, something else happened in their life. Something else happened in their business. Something else happened with a client, and that's delaying their response to you. All right. All right, Josh, we're going to do a little Q&A, but before we do that, let's throw to a quick message from our sponsor there. All right.
Let's do it. Running an agency is demanding. And as you know, the process of interviewing, hiring, and training new team members is both time-consuming and costly. It can even hold back your agency's growth. We have found a game-changing solution in a company called Virtrify. Just like cracking the code to closing deals, finding the right talent is essential to your success. Virtrify partners with digital marketing agency owners to help them scale faster by providing bilingual appointment centers and salespeople from Latin America. As an agency owner, your time is best spent growing the business, not getting stuck in the process of hiring and training. Virtrify's staffing solution frees you up from those time-consuming tasks so you can focus on scaling. Ready to delegate and grow? Visit virtrify.com/closing code to find pre-trained salespeople who are experts in the closing code way. Let's build your high-performance sales team together.
All right, folks, we're back. We've been talking a lot about follow-up, the fortunes in the follow-up, how important it is to have a system in place and a cadence in place to follow up with prospects that have fallen off of calendar, you've already completed a sales demo or a strategy session with. I want to do some quick Q&A with you, Josh, if you're up for it.
Good stuff. Love it.
All right.
A little rapid fire.
Yeah, we're going to go a little rapid fire here. All right. So when you are making phone call, like specifically voice, right? Whether it's a phone call or a voicemail message, how do you follow up without sounding desperate? Because that's the last thing that you want to come across when you're reaching out to a law firm or an attorney.
Well, first and foremost, one of the big challenges there has to do with not sounding desperate, but also you also want to still be enthusiastic and passionate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to work that fine line. So I like to be enthusiastic because I am passionate about what I do, and I am passionate about having positive impact on people. So lead with value, not need. So if I'm leading in with the value proposition, reiterating the value of what I have for you, how I can positively impact your life.
I like that.
That way I sound like a peer and not a pinch. And what do I mean by a pinch? Like a pinch in the arm, it's a pain in the ass, right? So lead with value.
Okay. I like that. All right. So for you, what's your go-to follow-up for an unresponsive prospect, right? Let's say you've already made that 7th, that 8th, that 9th attempt there. Do you have like a go-to line, a go-to SMS message, a go-to email that you send out?
I have 2 that I'll try. And again, depending on how the prior conversations went, and I'm actually refining this even more with ChatGPT and continue to play around with it, right? Because as ChatGPT learns and improves, we're going to get better responses. So just try something like this. I just want to make sure I didn't drop the ball on my end. Did you still want to continue our conversation?
I like that. You're taking ownership for the reason that you guys fell out of communication. Hey, it's not your fault. I forgot to, maybe I dropped the ball. Maybe I didn't follow up or send you what you were looking for.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay.
Now I know that's not the case, but how's that make them feel?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it gives them an opportunity because a lot of times they don't respond because they fell out of, and that they're a little, not ashamed is probably not the right word, right? But they're a little timid to jump back in the ring because then they have to justify why they've ghosted you for the last few weeks.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
So you're giving them an out, right? An opportunity to jump back in the ring with you and save face there. Okay. All right. Last one here,
so
Josh.
I had one more I wanted to throw out.
Oh, go give me the second one. Give me the second.
Yeah. The second one is if it's a big deal, a really big deal, and I really want it for a variety of reasons, whether it's a great market, whether it's because I know that they have a specific sphere of influence that I can get referrals from, right? So I'll do the mega irresistible offer strategy from Alex Ramosi. And that is, if I can take and remove some of the risk from them, we'll call it a risk reversal, and offer them, hey, I have a mega irresistible offer for you. I'd love to meet with you and show you what it is. You're going to trust me. You're going to love it. So if I can get them on the calendar for that, now I know that there's still some level of interest. And typically the risk reversals is what if I could take the risk off of your plate for, let's say, the next 30 days? What if I got started for you, absorbed all the cost and all the risk associated with getting you started, and I won't even bill you for 30 days. And if in 29 days, you're not 100%, absolutely 100% satisfied, just tear up the contract. I won't charge your credit card.
Wow. How has that worked for you in the past?
It's 50-50. Yeah.
Okay.
50%.
But it's worth it, right? I mean,
Sure.
literally at the end of the day, you've already got the team that's executing on the stuff. So your cost of services delivered is what it is.
You got it, but you got to make sure you have world-class onboarding, like really, really strong onboarding like we do. So, and I'll tell you, the ones that have done it, and I think it's like 2 or 3 that have done it, because I don't do it often, right? They come back to me, Josh, I am so glad that I did this with you. Your team has been amazing. Something along those lines. Every single time I get a tremendous positive feedback.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. For me, during the strategy session or sales demo, I really try to create a sense of urgency based on the deals that I've already closed and my onboarding calendar, right? Like during a screen share, I'll actually share with them a calendar that has the deals that I've closed. I'll share with them a calendar that has very limited availability to schedule their onboarding there. And as we fall out of communication, I'll revisit that and say, hey, we've got X number of clients that I need to onboard over the next couple of weeks. If we're going to get you on board by the end of June, I need you to make a decision at this point, right? And I, hey, at this point, I'm throwing Hail Marys anyway, right?
Yeah, right.
And they already, it doesn't seem desperate because I already brought it up earlier in the sales conversation there. So,
Yep.
all right.
Set a limit. And I know we have to move on. So,
Mhm.
but just set a limit. We only have the capacity to onboard five new clients a month. We're at 4.
Absolutely.
We've got one open spot, right?
Do it all the time for anybody that's
Yep.
thinking about doing
Yep.
websites
Yep.
and SEO
Yep.
with us. All right. Last question here, Josh. What do you think is the biggest mistake reps make with their follow-up?
All right. So again, I have to give you 2.
Okay. All right.
So I'll say the first one is the fear of rejection. And it is and I'll say the fear of repetitive rejection. So they make excuses, as we discussed earlier, right?
Mhm.
Oh, they're probably not interested. They probably picked somebody else, or they probably changed their mind, whatever. You're making negative assumptions without having any facts at all. And so the reason you're doing that is because you don't want to get to a no, because you don't want to be rejected. So you'd rather have a maybe hanging out there. It's the silliest thing ever. But that's how we internalize, and that's how our brain works to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So, and the other is they just kind of wing it. So the follow-up should be planned as you just laid out your plan, right? And they just kind of wing it. Oh, I'll check in here. I'll check in there, right?
Amen.
So,
that takes us to our takeaways for today. Number one, like if you don't have a system, there's no follow-up, then there's no sale, right? All of you one-call closers, I love a one-call close, but man, you are leaving money on the table if you don't have a system in place to execute on follow-up there. Second big takeaway, most of the deals are sitting in limbo because you quit too early. Right? You gave up on that opportunity. You made excuses for not following up with them when there was plenty of opportunity for you to, ultimately end up closing some business with that prospect. And then the last big takeaway I've got, man, follow-up isn't nagging, right? It's nurturing. You're doing it with a purpose, right? If you really believe to your core that the services that you offer are going to help that business owner, you are not nagging them. You are staying in front of them. You are offering them a solution to help them either solve a problem or reach their goals. So change that mindset. You are not nagging. You're not bugging. You're reconnecting with that prospect because you can deliver value to them, their lives, their business, and their growth. Right? All right.
So good. So good. So we're going to wrap up today with a motivational quote. And that is: the difference between a closer and a chaser, the closer follows up with intention.
Love that. Love that. Josh, man, this has been great. I love having these conversations with you. I'm excited. I'm ready to jump on a sales call and close some business here.
So what's our next episode? What are we going to talk about?
So next week, there's a lot of self-absorbed salespeople. All right. All of us salespeople can be a little self-absorbed, right? We take credit for all the wins and we deflect all the losses there. But what I really want to talk about is, as a salesperson, in any agency, any size, right? You have to remember that sales is a team sport. So I want to talk about how the folks in marketing, operations, fulfillment, how working together can drive more sales and more deals for everybody. And you need to celebrate that as a team.
I love that. And I think, as the topic, I think we should wear our favorite football team jersey.
Get out of here with this. I know. So just so the audience knows, Josh and I will probably be spending Thanksgiving what's the opening day or something like that together.
Yeah, watch party, right? Yeah. Watch party.
We'll be watching the Cowboys and Eagles kick off the season. All right. For the audience, man, thank you for sticking around. We hope you got lots of value out of this. Make sure you find us on social, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform that you're using. And as always, if you got a sales closer in your life, man, share this content. You got an agency owner in your life that you care about, hoping they're successful, share this content. Hope everybody gets some value out of it. Thanks again for doing this with me today, Josh.
My pleasure, Clinton. And remember, ABC, brother, ABC. Always be closing, everybody. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to the podcast for more straight shooting advice on closing deals that matter. Unlock the code, close the deal, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Closing Code Podcast.